Yo, what is going on out there? There is some scandalous stuff been going on that has just been let loose onto the market. That one I'll have that one's an interesting one, and people like to label me like this toxic maximalist, and not really. I'm just a Bitcoiner. Let's just be real. I'm just trying to warn people about not trying to get into fraudulent things, even if that person gave us voice over IP, Mr. VoIP himself. Let's dig in, guys. Yo, Crypto Nation and mining family, what's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on? Crypto Nico dropping that F. Hey, yeah, what's up? Sonia coming in. FA, I'm here too. We got Mine and Hodl. Yo. to answer your the heading to your video, turn off miners and sell the old non-profitable mining hardware and buy up to date GPUs and ASICs. Well, yo, what's up? Last piece of the puzzle. What's up? I don't quite agree with that. And hear me out. And the reason why I say I don't agree with that is none of the GPUs are profitable right now, really. I mean, let's be real about it. I mean, profitability is really non-existent unless you are on industrial power rates. The lower your power bill is, the better positioned you are potentially coming out of the bear market. Yes, it's always a good idea to keep your hardware rotation more up to date when possible. I don't say that everybody needs to, because it's like, again, everything is not profitable right now unless you are sub 8 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's effective, not what you're like, oh, this is what I'm getting charged per kilowatt hour. No. You get charged per kilowatt hour, and then plus what your electric company charges you for delivery charge. Usually it's a doubling effect. So if you got, let's say, 7 cents a kilowatt hour, you're effectively 12 to 14 cents a kilowatt hour plus taxes. So ASIC wise, that's always a lucrative business. Bitcoin wise, all the Bitcoin miners above a 17 is profitable to a point. If you have industrial rates, depending on how low you dip, even an S9 is still profitable. So with that being said, I feel like it just kind of depends on where you are mining, how you're sitting, what your goals are with the mining. So I agree with the one hand that you always want to have the most efficient hardware, not so much up to date, the most efficient hardware. That will always help you out in the long run. But when you're in a market where, even Bitcoiners with their mining facilities, they're sitting here playing with really thin margins right now, everybody's taking a hit. So my rate on electric right now is 0 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, then you could sit there and run you just want to be able to have, for somebody like you just want to have the most efficient hardware that you can load up a circuit with. You're in a different situation than somebody like myself who mines at home. I get charged just under 12 cents a kilowatt hour here at my house. That's all in. I mean, my kilowatt hour is lower than that for sure. but then you got to add in the line charges, and it's just under 12 cents a kilowatt hour. So I'm like right at the national average right now. So me mining right now, not profitable here at my house. I'm just telling you, home mining is not profitable unless you have Sonia's awesome situation where he gets 0%, zero. Yeah, it's like I turned off miners because I'm only making 5 cents a day, $2 a month on a 10 series card. Yeah, I mean, but that's pretty much how everybody's going to be. I mean, you can sit there and have a big farm and you're only making, what, $6 a day if you're lucky on a larger farm? It's not profitable in any way, shape, or form to be mining at the house. So now you're just sitting here making that decision. Do you turn the rigs off temporarily till the market kind of stabilizes out? And just note that a lot of other people are going to be making the same decision. So over time, self-fulfilling prophecy, people will get out of the market. All the profits will come back a little bit, and then people who held on to the rigs will start turning their stuff back on, and then the market will tank back down a little bit here, and then some more people turn it off, be like, screw it, I'm just done. Every time I turn my rigs on, it's not profitable. So it'll eventually weed its way out. That's why I said it will be a minimum of 2 months. 2 months would be the best case scenario that profits come back in, right? And I've only stated a minimum of 2 months. We are halfway there, and profits still haven't even tried to tickle back, right? So I've tried to be very honest with my viewpoint with where the market's going to be sitting at. Minimum, we have another month of pain. Minimum. Now, if Bitcoin price goes up from here, it will end it quicker. If more people stop getting back into the market, will help us from here. This will be long, it depends on how the market is going to assimilate with all of the extra hash rate, the extra speculation on all these other shit coins, right? So just kind of, you have to make a decision for yourself. Are you going to mine at home? Are you going to send it to us over at the Family Mine LLC? All shills intended. It's like, and you're going to be sitting here making these decisions of turning them off, sending them to us, or just grin and bear it at home, or turn it off and wait a while and then turn it back on later on. So I mean, you really have a very limited amount of choices. At this point, there's no reason to complain about anything. It's just kind of, okay, got to see what's going on here. Just be patient. Goose fraba. It's like prepare for Europe-like energy conditions, y'all. Most certainly, last piece to the puzzle. I believe you for certain here. Things are about to get really weird in the market. Something which nobody alive has ever experienced, I think. This was... I'm not even sure how to... I'm just kind of hands in the air, just kind of... I don't know what's going on. So we'll just kind of, I'm going to leave it like that and just, worry about things as they come with things I cannot control. But, it's like at this point, we're all sitting in this, wait and see holding pattern. Mine HODL, here's my situations. I have 6,600 max free watts. I have non-efficient to efficient cards from 560s to 2060s. Do I max electricity more with GPUs or upgrade existing? I would definitely start looking at, this is not GPU, mining advice to anybody, but if I had a bunch of 560s, I would be definitely looking at upgrading out of those. Those are 460s. They're a refresh of a refresh. Dump the refresh, which will be your 560s. Your 2060s, they're all right. They were out of the 20 series, they were the better efficiency cards out of the 20 series for sure. So you really didn't do bad. But the 560s, I would start looking at, maybe getting into the 5000 series, 6000 series, or wait until to see how the 7000 series hits. I would stay away from NVIDIA. They are going to be your arch nemesis with power. Anything, it's like 3080s and 3090s were just power hogs. I have the most issues with those rigs. They tend to max out power supplies with very little hardware on there. I burnt up a power supply just utilizing that because I lost power, and the way that it came back on took out a power supply when it came back on. I'm like, oh my god, these things are junk. So I would think that the 40 series is going to be like twice as bad with the power draw. You're going to be putting one 40 series per power supply. I don't think that that's efficient hardware for mining. So yeah, I mean that's just my viewpoint. You're gonna need like a 3,000 watt power supply just to run 2 or 3 of those. That's not worth it in any way, shape, or form. The hardware alone will start getting too expensive. So I'd be looking more at the potentially the 7000 series. That has my interest to an extent. AMD is usually very power efficient. They have the best efficacy rate on there. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be looking at the 7000 series, 6000 series. A lot of things that people weren't talking about. Through the last bull market, everybody wanted NVIDIA because they were like, to hell with power supplies, to hell with heat. We want all the bloody hash rate. I don't care how much power I'm using. Just give me the Satoshis. Now we're in a different environment. Now we're looking at what's the most efficient, right? So for everybody that was loading up on NVIDIAs, they are now realizing if you load it up on the wrong NVIDIA cards, you're paying a little bit of a price on that. Thankfully, with the higher series cards, I tend to shy away from a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to have one rig of higher series cards. I've got that, right? I've got my 3090 rig, one rig. I got it on a couple, but that's a different thing. But I got a full 8-card rig. That was what I was going for. Caught a deal on 8 of them. And I caught a deal on Kingpins, and thank God I got Kingpins because they're getting out of the game with the EVGA. I feel honored to have 3 of them. So I feel like that part of the deal I did really good with. Then I've got my 3080 rig. I like that too, but I happen to like the lower tier 30 series, the 3060 Ti Founders Editions. Amazing cards. You get your 6000 series cards. Awesome. I have no issues with any of my 6000 series cards. My 6600 XTs, my 6800 XT, solid cards. Power efficiency and everything that you're looking for in those cards. So, I mean, that's where I would be going towards. Yes, I'm gonna lean towards the higher end in those series. So if, pertaining your budget, you might want to go, instead of a 3060 Ti, you might go for a 3060. So, I mean, it just kind of depends on where your budget is. Let's see what you guys chatting about. He's like, 3060's going for 300 on eBay. Not bad. Not bad. What's going on, Vincent? He's like, coffee grab at 3060. Are there any hash rate predictions for the 4000 series or 6000 series? or 4000 series starts a series has that short bus. So the bus width on the memory, Vincent, is going to be less crucial unless you're going to be going after a memory dependent algorithm. For us, that would be Ethereum Classic, but that's being heavily dominated by ASICs at this point to where we're not profitable on ETC moving forward, unfortunately. I mean, hell, my E3 Antminers, which were the very first generation of ASICs on Ethereum, they're really not profitable until I get into my industrial rates on there. So with that being stated, I'm figuring between the 3090 and the 4090, depending on the algorithm, you're probably looking at between a 20 to 30% uptick in performance. But you're going to be using about around 30 to 40% more power. So it's like, okay, is it efficient enough on the algorithm that you're planning on mining at that point? In other words, does it have a high enough yield of Bitcoin for it to make it worth it for you to fire the 40 series up onto a mine, do it for mining? I'm sure it's gonna, mining will come back at a certain point, but I do not think that the 40 series is gonna be the go-to until pricing comes back. But that's a dual-edged sword. Mining comes back with a boom, all the cards go up in price. So it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? But if you're wanting to make sure that you're just power efficient right off the bat, as long as the price is right, I think the AMDs will. I think AMD is going to be right on the coattail of the 40 series at this point. I think this series, AMD is pushing enough research and development into the GPU market at this point. And I think Lisa Su is hungry enough to make this happen, where you might see for the better power efficiency up to a 12% difference in hash rate. So NVIDIA will be 12% better hash rate, but for more wattage. So it becomes like a toss-up at that point of which one you want to go to. I'm not sure exactly what I think hash rates are, but I think if you were to take a baseline of the 3090 to the 4090, I think we're going to be looking at a 20 to 30% performance uptick. It's really not a whole lot. I tend to skip a generation myself. I go for every other generation. So of course, naturally, I went from 10 series to 30 series. I skipped the 20 series because it wasn't enough of a difference between my 1080 Ti's. It wasn't way outperforming my 1070 Ti's. Then he came out with a 30 series, and I was like, YOLO. Vincent, you think the high gigabyte more than I'd never recommend doing dual mining on a GPU because you're splitting up the hash rate on there, and unless you're dealing with a memory algorithm, it's not going to make much of a difference on the gigabytes of memory that you have. If both algorithms are core dependent, then you're splitting the CUDA cores up between both algorithms. If it's profitable enough, sure. It's not like everything else is mining out like Doge. So with Doge mining, if I mine Doge, I'm mining Litecoin. And anytime that I submit a share for Litecoin, they could take that answer and submit it onto Doge network, and it basically steals a block. Nobody really directly mines Doge anymore. So that is like a what they call merge mining. that is a more efficient utilization of hardware if you can do merge mining, because then you are basically putting all of your concentration on this, and it only works when you're in the same algorithms type. So Litecoin is script and Dogecoin is script. So that Litecoin has a higher difficulty level. So as long as the difficulty level is higher than the one you're merge mining with, this works. That to me is a more efficient, like I said, more of an efficient way of use of hardware. I don't believe in split mining it, unless it's just the profits are just insane with it, which I have never seen it be good enough. And all the time that I've mined, I know a bunch of people who do also do the split mining, dual mining, however you want to put it, and they're very happy with what they're doing. From a business standpoint, I'm going to attack the one I'm going to go and mine the one that has the most propagated value to the network. And I'm going to support that one because that one will have more propagated value coming back to me, that will allow me to pay my bills moving forward. So, I mean, that's just kind of where my thoughts are with the new 40 series and the 77 series cards. I'm going to be a little bit more leaning onto the 7,000 series, to be honest, over the 4,000 series. And it's not a memory issue. It has nothing to do with that. I just think the efficacy is going to be better with the AMD cards going into this next round. I think that NVIDIA is just going, we're just going to throw more power at this. We're going to do a small little tweak in the core and throw a bunch of power at this. I don't think that's giving enough of an uptick. Oh, I was reading that, Vincent. I almost read that, Vincent. You gave me 0.2 of a second. To be more specific, combining core heavy and memory heavy algo, we will not need more memory for storing both DAGs. No, if it's core, you're still going to give up a little performance between the two. I'm not sure. You would have to play around with it. I know people who do that, where they'll do something that's really core intensive and something that's memory intensive. And at the end of the day, when you sit there and you put everything into the Bitcoin into a Bitcoin standard, they tend to work out about the same. And and when you're concentrating on one algorithm, one coin, it's less muss and fuss. As soon as you start splitting it up, you're adding extra steps into it. And to me, I just don't like the extra steps, especially if it's a nominal uptick in gains. And realistically, I think there's been times where, yes, it's been a little bit more profitable to do that. And then a lot of times, for what you're about to make, my time is precious. I'm just not going to waste my time over it. Now, somebody who's got a smaller farm, who's doing this while going to work, you have a little bit of extra time to do all these extra things that if you want to take that and support multiple networks, I'm not going to discourage you. Just kind of pay attention to that. You got to remember to pay yourself for all the time and effort of exchanging everything, potentially having losses with moving it from onto exchanges. Because I look at anytime you move a coin onto exchange, you're running a risk of it just being hacked. That's just my viewpoint. So every time I go to an exchange, I'm like, please don't let me be hacked. And I'm trying to be in and off the exchange as fast as possible. The less time my Bitcoin sits on an exchange, the less stressed I am. So it's just a risk tolerance at that point too. So I'm never going to discourage somebody from not going down that rabbit hole though. 'Cause, 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 'cause No problem, Vincent. No problem. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like, but I know people who do it and they do make money off of it, and to each their own. I'm not going to discourage somebody if they want to take the time and I'm playing with these other networks. I mean, you got to realize it. Us miners, we're the ones that are originally playing with these networks because we're like, oh, that's a new network. What can it do? Oh, let me check that out. How do I get coin? Oh, you can mine it? Hold on, I got a couple of GPUs. Throw a couple of GPUs on there, you get a couple of their coins, and now you get to play with their ecosystem. So, I mean, pros and cons, right? It just depends on what you're here for. If you're here to kind of play around with some of the tech and you're like, I don't really care if I make a whole lot of money. I only have a couple, one rig. I just want to play with the networks. This is all cool stuff. Then, of course, you're going to go down more speculative rabbit holes just to play with it. Even if you lose money out of the deal, you're like, what's a few bucks, that I'm gambling with at that point, and then you get people like myself who I'm looking at it as a business. I want it to be a sustainable business, so these are rabbit holes I don't go down. I want simple, clear cut, right to the point. Bam, done, right? Ooh, starting to get dark out there. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna close my blinds. Like, with the studio lights on, people can really see inside my living room right now. Sure glad I got my exercise in early today. So, yeah. Moving on from, it's like we all know that this bear market isn't going to really end anytime. He's like, your neighbor, I see you. Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, with all of this bear market stuff, we get stupid news also to come right along with it. And you have people like myself who are critical of these other networks. And these are some of the reasons why, because I've been in the Bitcoin long enough, and I hate to dog on somebody that has brought a lot of innovation to the internet, to the bloody internet, guys. So, senior Celsius executives withdrew 17 million in crypto just before they declared bankruptcy, guys. That's a fucking rug pull right there. The wealthiest people pulled their money out, and then they froze all the accounts on everybody. And there was something between 17 and 23 million dollars that was extracted out between May and June of this year. And then they ceased withdrawals and filed for bankruptcy. And Alec Mashinsky knew all about this shit. This was not something, oh my god, no, I didn't know. And I didn't see nothing. He knew what was about to happen. And he allowed this to happen to the people. This is, and I feel so bad dogging on him a little bit here because this man brought voice over IP, VoIP. If it wasn't for his innovation, voice over, what me talking to you right now wouldn't be happening. But to see that he's basically involved in a basically this smells more like a rug pull than anything else. So basically, the founders and the early investors pulled their money out and left the user base as the bag holder. So they just robbed everybody. Is basically what this is what's coming out. Is that they robbed everybody. And they did it and they knew it was going to happen. This is why I have been critical on so many different projects. This is why I tell people to be frosty out there. Not necessarily, no. They weren't funds that belonged to Celsius. That's what the funny part is. You can't. You're talking senior executives withdrew their crypto. And then there was the bankruptcy. That's like insider trading type of deal, right? So no, they really can't go after that. Because Celsius is a corporation. A corporation is its own entity. And everybody inside of that entity are just employees. You cannot go after an employee of a company for legal battle over what the company itself did. So, yeah. And bankruptcy just means that if you have money on Celsius Network and as they are declaring bankruptcy, you are just a debtor. And you're about to get pennies to the dollar, if anything, at the end of the day, when all the lawyers get all their funds out of it, you'll be lucky to get pennies to the dollar on what you have, if anything, because the rest of the investors will take theirs first, and then you will be left with whatever's left. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be a whole lot. Now, the court system did allow them to continue mining, but that's not going to be going to you, the users. That's going to go to the investors. This is going to be the investors' payout because of contractual obligations. I guarantee that's how this is going to roll out. So, unfortunately, in crypto, they call it a rug pull. In the real world, they would call this fraud. 100%, Vincent. 100%. It's a fine line because I'm not going to sit there and say that there should be no entity in the corporation because that gives you your legal barrier. If you're running a non-fraudulent company and somebody tries to sue the company for, an outrageous amount of money, it can bankrupt the company, but it's not going to make you as the CEO of that company lose your house in the process just because something happened outside of your control. Whether you made a product that somebody went to an extreme on that product, it failed, and it hurt somebody, seriously hurt them. You're about to get sued for everything. They're going to go after the kitchen sink on it. And that gets expensive. Take, for instance, I used to work for Firestone. Firestone got involved with a lawsuit because they put two winter tires onto a vehicle and left the other two tires not winter tires. They were driving through Wintery Mountain. They ended up losing control, slid off the mountain. Firestone got sued because it was done at a Firestone location, that they were the professionals and that they should have told them to either you're getting all four of them or you're getting none. And something like that to a small company can bankrupt them. Even though they didn't think about it, they were like, but they only wanted two. No, you should have told them no. And they got a few million, I forget exactly how many $1 million lawsuit that they lost on that. And after that, moving forward, it was 4 tires, or you had to prove you had at least 2 winter tires already. And then they would sell you just 2. But you had to prove that you had 2 other tires. So, I mean, like, stuff like that on a small company, you need to have that entity as a separation, because if it's done as a personal business, whenever they sue your business, well, that business bleed over because your bank account and the business bank account aren't separated. The bleed over happens right onto you, and a lot of good people have lost their houses over the idea that they couldn't separate the business away from them. So I believe into the entity, but it is, of course, a double-edged sword. You get a fraudulent company. It also protects the people from fraud. It protects the scammers from being sued directly. Now, it doesn't stop class action lawsuits on them, and it does not stop regulatory committees coming in and going after the CEOs. So there are other ways that they can be fined for it, but it's a long, drawn-out process. It takes years. I've seen them get drawn out for 20 years. So, it's like just kind of like, you see this stuff and you just kind of hold your breath and you're like, I'm gonna hope for the best. It's like Vince, I respectfully disagree. All right, I feel you on that. Blockchains have a stronger veil than corporate identities for limiting liability. They have decentralization, should be no entity. That's where the problem is. So here, allow me to put it this way. Because there are the devs. The devs take place of the corporate hierarchy, right? So because of the devs having direct control over the code base, they don't need anybody's real permission to push out new code base. And every blockchain that I have ever seen, that I've ever dived into and looked into their code on GitHub, you can see that they don't really need any permissions to make changes or alterations inside of the GitHub, which that directly affects the network. So decentralization, they pick decentralization in aspects. But that's like a whole different conversation with the ideology of what true decentralization is on a network. And I've had lots of debates with people on there, a lot of different viewpoints on it, and a lot of times it's hard to kind of argue with the idea of what is, when you look up the verbatim definition of what decentralization is. As soon as you've got a governance, as soon as you've got a master node, as soon as you've got staking protocols, all this stuff is like centralization. It's just on a smaller scale. So you're kind of picking and choosing what part of the network you're choosing is going to run as decentralized. And decentralized just means that the code runs on its own. Without any alteration on them to keep it doing what it does. I mean, you can get, it depends on how you want to take that rabbit hole. But if a company, in order to do business in any country, you have to basically register with the local government. Bitcoin not being a company, there was nowhere to register. It was just somebody freely putting code out. And there are a few people here and there that will, if the whole network agrees to it, something might get updated. But the whole network has to agree to it. So that's where the decentralization is, that Bitcoin can't just push code. Bitcoin's fair launch. Bitcoin is, there's so much stuff that just makes Bitcoin just the most decentralized aspect, and the gold standard, of course. But you have, because there's no company sitting behind, no foundation of any sort sitting behind the Bitcoin protocol, you don't have to deal with any kind of those regulatory issues. You have something like Celsius. They were trying to be a crypto lending service. They were trying to be AKA a bank. So because of their because of what they were trying to structure themselves as, it led them into a position where it was an entity. So yes, you can launch a crypto and have no governance and have a fair launch, have the whole decentralized nature of it, and not have to worry about trying to run it as a corporation. There's no entity behind there. And that would be there. I mean, there are still coins out there that are running like that. But they have centralization into the background. And I'll take one for instance, Vertcoin. I love the guys over at Vertcoin. They're a great bunch of people, but they don't need your permission to push new code out. And that means that there is a centralization just on their code base. So it's not 100% decentralized. It's not like if they decide to push code out that the network can just reject it and not implement that update. That's you got to have that free will within the network, and that helps bring in that decentralization because now every person has a vote. Where whenever you're sitting there and you're dealing with like Celsius, where they're trying to be a bank, they have regulations, they have certain things they can and cannot do. And one of those things was not gambling in the DeFi market with people's funds. This is going to, I see regulators coming after the CEO, the board members directly at this point. I think that there should be criminal allegations being brought up to all the CEOs, even if they're former CEOs, if they were there up until the point of the withdrawals of millions in crypto before they shut everything down. If they were up to that point, they should be in the allegations with that. In that much, Vincent, I will agree with. The veil is greater with the blockchains. It's a little bit better, but it depends on what they're trying to do. If they give it up, like Celsius has. Celsius was trying to be a bank, so they had to sign up with the Bankers Secrecy Act. There's like 4 things that they had to sign up for that allowed the government to have full access behind the door with the Federal Reserve, all having access to behind the doors. But nobody looked. For somehow Celsius fell through the cracks of what they were doing. How that happened, no clue. Don't care. All you know is that this is fraud. And there is no amount of Bitcoin, no amount of crypto that they can hide behind. They are screwed. If it is as bad as this looks like a nuclear detonation that just went off on them. Yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. I wonder how big his mining facility is. And if he's going to have to liquidate the facility now, which would help drop hash rate maybe 0.01%. Last piece to the puzzle. HNT mining is actually still profitable. Not for me. My HNT miner stopped. Vincent's like, you said it, man. You know it. I hate to be critical about it. It's just, I've seen it before. I've been around. I've seen a few things about a few things. And Bitcoin can't fix this. No amount of mining, I think, in Celsius's defense is going to pull them out of this hole. And everybody that was rooting for the short squeeze on Celsius, Yeah, they done dug themselves deeper into a hole. This is why they call retail stupid. Um, so moving on off of some depressing stuff. Um, let's see here. We'll skip that article, and we'll go over to this. So we have PCIe Gen 5 ready with the new ATX 3.0 and the PCIe 5.0 standard. So the power supply lineup is ready to go. We're going to have a few different variations on there. Let's see here, do they? Yeah. 1,000 watt, a 12, and then two different 1,200 watters. Not too much of a difference on all of these, except that what the wattage outputs are now and the efficiencies behind them. And they're all coming with 10-year warranties, except the lower quality ones on the low end of the spectrum. They got a 7-year warranty. Warranty being high, I like that. And what's interesting on these power supplies is they're only giving you one 12 volt high output connector, and then they gave you 3 PCIe. And if you're trying to run a 4090, you need 2 of these. So basically, all your PCIe's go into one GPU. Now, I do like the idea that they're putting it. So on the adapter cable for these things, the adapter cables are basically, they have a couple of grounding wires, and it just basically telling the GPU, yes, we're plugged into we're plugged in properly. There is a full connection here, guys. We're good to go. And on the adapter, 2 out of the 4 smaller pins here at the bottom. Let me show you this. So, only 2 of the pins here, the 2 right pins, are being utilized on that adapter, and they're going directly to ground, basically telling the GPU that it's plugged in. The other 2 is going to be communication to the power supply guys. So what it's going to do is these things are basically the system's going to turn on, the GPU is going to turn on, and the GPU is going to sense it's got communication down to the power supply, and they're going to and it's going to be like, hey, power supply, what are you? Oh, you got enough power for me. Can you deliver that all the time? Oh, okay. So we're only peaking out here. So your PCIe rail will give me 450 watts, and that's all I can take. Got it. Now you go to plug into another one, and it's like, oh, I've got 600 watts available to me. Thank you. I'll boost up your card a little bit higher now. So it will, depending on the power supply these new 40 series cards are being plugged into, it's going to depend on how much power that the power supply is communicating to your GPU that it can deliver at all times. Now, I'm thinking that with the adapter in, when you're using just the adapter, it's got, because there's no communication to the power supply, it puts it into like a default mode where you're probably looking at 450 watts. Sonia, it's like, check out the Nearcoin is doing, it's a new coin algorithm. I'll check it out. Near Protocol, huh? It's on Coinbase? Really? I don't really check out Coinbase too often, guys. I have an app for it, but I really don't like using it. Let's see here. Da-da-da. Let's see, when was the last time I opened this up? Oh, that's been a while. It's been months. Almost, that's been since the beginning of the year. Let's see here. Assets. What kind of assets do we have here? Let's see here. New assets. What kind of new assets we got here? You said near protocol, huh? All right, I'll take a look at it, man. I don't like going down the shitcoin rabbit hole too much. It's got to be profitable for the business. I'll take a look at it, but I'm not gonna sit there and say that it's something that I. Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, I'd have to do some research. If it's not mineable, I don't want to deal with it at all. and Coinbase is a shitcoin mining place. It's like it's proof of stake. It's chunking protocol for validators, not miners. Good to know, Vincent. I'm glad we got some good people like you. I hate proof of stake. That is proof of centralization. There's no difference between proof of stake and the government. I'm just saying. All right, so it doesn't look like these newer power supplies, though. Getting back to that, is going to be. It doesn't look like they're going to have a whole lot of outputs for the 40 series cards. It looks like all the ones that I've been seeing only has the one output. So if you have a high-end class 4090 that is going to require two of the PCIe 5.0s, you're going to have one true 5.0 PCIe, and then you're going to be using the other one in an adapter. I do not know how that's going to affect anything. As long as it's got the handshake from one of them, it's good for both of them. Not sure, but it does not look like, you would think that the higher class power supply would give you two of those outputs on there. But as of right now, it does not look like, it looks like they're all just one. Yeah, I'm not buying any of those. I mean, how can I put it? I want to buy one, but I don't. I think that's the best way to put it. I want one, but I don't want one. And I think my don't wanting one is going to outweigh me wanting one. And that will push me over to being a pure AMD system. I'm not mad about it. It's like maybe if Ergo hits $1,000. Truth, Vincent. Truth. So, talking about AMD, guys, looks like Noxua with the new Ryzen 7000 series. They've got those funky little notches where when you go to thermal paste them, they're a great little cavity to just get junk all over it, because they did not think about, if I smush paste on here, will any of it ooze down if I put a liberal helping of it on there? The answer is yes, and Noxua has you covered. So it just kind of fits into all little spaces so that, it's a little cleaner. If you ever have to get back in there to re-thermal paste everything, you can just replace the little pad here that's protecting everything down below, and you've got a clean CPU still. And it looks like each one includes 10 of them. So you'll have plenty of ways of keeping everything nice and clean. Another thing that I had noticed some people talking about, so between the last generation and this generation coolers, guys, let's see if I go it'll, yeah, perfect. So if you look at the mounting bracket on there, if you have the Ryzen 6000 series cooler, the cooler cold plate will fit onto this chipset without an issue. That is not going to be the problem. You got to make sure that that the bracket is now a little wider on the new chipset. So make sure that you have the right bracket, or you're going to have to order the proper bracket for the upgrade, so that you can use an existing cooler on the chipset. So kind of pay attention. Do not think that, oh, I have my old cooler, I'll just switch it from my AM4 to my AM5. The AM5 mounting bracket screw holes are just a little wider, and it is part of the assembly. It is not like the back plate is a separate piece anymore. It's separate, but it's also part of the hold down bracket for the CPU itself. So you're not going to really be able to remove them. So make sure that you've got the AM5 brackets, or that you can order the AM5 brackets. Don't think you can just modify something on there. The spacing makes a difference per what cooler you have on there, on whether it's going to sit down too tight, or if it's going to be free floating, a little too high up off the deck, and the thermal transfer is horrible, temperatures go through the roof, or it's too tight and there's not enough thermal paste between the two objects to even make what they would consider a flat surface. So be careful of which bracketry you have. Make sure the screws are, don't put just any old screw through the back plate. You'll strip out the plate and you'll have a bad day. I'm just gonna put it out there like that, guys. Oh yeah. I'm happy with the 5950Xs. I'm happy with. I have a Threadripper. I've been using Threadripper for a few years. I love it. I'm gonna be upgrading my Threadripper probably tomorrow, I'm thinking. I got a 1950X I want to put in here, and then I want to retop off my my water cooling, my EK water cooling loop. I've got a bunch of coolant. It looks like a pretty big bubble work out of its way out of one of the my radiators. I knew it was going to happen. It is what it is, right? So yeah, kind of go like that. And I'm actually kind of a little excited to see this one. Oop. I have no idea who that is. So it looks like Acer enabled its Bifrost for Arc A770. So it's a half blower and half standard GPU. So it's got a cooler, I would think, for the power modules and the memory, which is fine. You don't need a whole lot for that. And then they've got the blower the blower portion to cool down the core itself. And with that, you're also blowing the bulk of the heat that's being generated by the VGA core out of the computer case. I like that. Now, I don't like the idea that they're putting a bunch of this RGB on there. Our RGB doesn't get you performance, but thank you, Intel, for putting it there. But I would rather have a understated card, and you can see that The radiator is kind of doing the pass-through design, so you can tell that it's going to be surrounding the VGA core. Now I hope what they're not doing is that it's all one cooler here, and they're using this as like a blower side of it, and then they have a little bit of the cooler, sticking through and blowing out, coming out the backside here, because all these GPUs are short little PCBs, but I'm hoping that they've got like two separate coolers on here. I'm interested on taking this thing apart and looking at it. I would like to get my hands on this just to be able to look underneath the hood, because dude, the card is interesting. So I mean, it's like they call it the Aeroblade. We all call them blowers. It's nothing special here, but I'm wondering how they did the cooler in here. I'm like going, please just let it be a server style blower underneath this hood, and then this thing is just blowing right across it and shooting. Please don't let this be an all-in-one radiator. Please. Acer, please have done this amazingly. Don't let this card be just blowing heat into the case. Let you use the blower to get all the GPU heat out of there. Memory and power rails don't generate a ton of heat. Please say you did it right. It's a bear market hallmark. Swap to AMD. You know it, Vincent. You know it. Every time, man. You're like, oh. Bull market. Balls to the wall. Get the Ferrari out. Bear market. Bro. You need the Ferrari this time? You're only going to the grocery store. You can take the pickup truck, right? So I mean, I like the card look on there. I can, like I said, I can deal. I can go away from the RGB on this. Hopefully, you'd be able to turn it off. But if not, you'd be able to unplug it. I would think, if you want it to be completely blacked out. So yeah, I don't think that the card is going to be, a huge, eye turner, but with the performance that they're claiming on the A770, they have my attention. So with this launch, they are going to be making a more competitive card. I would want the 16 gigabyte and not an 8 gigabyte model. The 8 gigabytes are going to be, I think, just underperformance, leaving a lot on the table that the card could have been. So I recommend people to get, especially if you're doing like VR. You got VR, you want 16 gigs. 8 gigabyte barely gives you enough overhead. My brothers both have had issues with having 8 gigabyte. VR is a lot more intensive. So you want a better card on there. So you want to have a nice 16 gigabyte. Now it's just going to be, do the drivers support it? Their drivers are still dog poop. They need to come a long way. They are definitely doing an old school AMD driver launch, where the driver launch is like, non-existent. But it's, again, if I can tone down the RGB on this thing, that main fan is just too much, like way too much. Like if they had it like this, all right, the little fan I'm cool with. This big one, oh hell no. And you see too much of it. No, I don't want to look at that. That there, Acer, is like a no-go for me in my own case. I wouldn't want to run this. Outside of that, it looks cool. And 3D Mark is coming out with being able to have an actual test for the Intel's ZESS AI enhancement upscaling technology. um, it's kind of wonky to see, but if you look at straight lines, it smooths out the straight lines on there, um, and gives a definition on something that's in the foreground versus the background. We have the left side is the temporal anti-aliasing, TAA, and then we have on the right ZESS. It's not huge, but if you're a person who's got a really good monitor or something like that, you're going to notice the difference. I want to support Intel with this move. Just way there's more GPU options on the market. But they definitely need some refining. Their own personal overclocking tools are kind of junk. You still don't get any kind of fan control with any overclocking software out there. So, and like some of this stuff, I do know what it should look like because I've done the benchmarks running with my ray tracing, and I get better reflections with the ray tracing versus their version of AI upscaling. So they're really kind of like lackluster in that department. But again, I'm not going to dog on them too hard because again, this is their first rip on this. So you got the native rendering versus with its AI upscaling, it's better, but you know, marginally. So I mean, for somebody who's a hardcore gamer and a computer enthusiast, this might be a card you want to play with. If you are, hey, I want to be able to plug the card in, download the drivers, and start gaming, this is not going to be the card for you, and I can't recommend this card to a novice gamer. For anybody who knows how to play with drivers, happen to this driver didn't download all the way, I have to go over here to go download this portion, and I have to go over here to download the other portion of it, and then it all works. Most people are not going to do that. They want to download the drivers and it just work. That's how we've all been accustomed to with AMD and NVIDIA. They've made it easy. Intel has really made it just too cumbersome for the average user. So I can't recommend this to any new gamers or even for mining. These things fucking suck. I don't know about the A770, but man, if it's on par with the fucking A380, it sucks. And I have my A380. It just sits off to the side. I don't even fucking use it. It's a junky 1080p card that can't play any old titles. And if you, yeah, Intel needs to refine what they've got a little bit further. And stop worrying about, you know, having the keen eye for detail. I can care less for detail. Give me a basic bitch card and make that thing work better than anybody else's. 1080p should be the easy basic stand. It's like tossing a dog a bone. Anything that does 1080p, this card should do, but this card doesn't. And they haven't fixed it yet. They've had all this time to fix it, and they still haven't. I have so many. Hey, Vincent, see you too. Or, oh, you're responding to Sonia. Oh, never mind. My bad. Take it easy, Sonia. Peace. So. I'm waiting for them to kind of come out with some better driver support before I start fiddling with my A380 that I've got. And I had to go and buy it off eBay because it wasn't fucking being distributed anywhere outside of the Asian market, which I could see why. They were kind of embarrassed with this one because it doesn't really work as intended. And other people are saying the same thing, even with the A770. Gamers Nexus has already said, he's like, don't buy this. He's like, they need to fix this stuff. Don't buy it. You want to play with it? Fine. For those who are advanced level techs, sure. even what I had to do, I had to download like 3 different things to get it to work properly. That's not how a user experience should be. I'm just saying. Um, it should just, as soon as it detects the GPU, it should be like, boom, hey, you need to download this. Okay, boom. Happy gaming. And that's it. Give me my drive. If you want to do a light client and a not light client, fine. Give me the option. But I want to have it all in one spot. One click, boom. I don't want to mess around with it. Intel, pull your head out of your asses and just give it as a full package. Stop trying to be like, well, we downloaded faster. I don't care about faster downloads. I want good quality hardware. And it feels like your drivers are holding back your card's performance in every way, shape, or form. Yo, what's up, Tech Man? What's up? And then, of course, coming over to the mining side of it, we've already touched upon that in the beginning. Mining is still in the toilet. There are very few things that are profitable, if any. You might be profitable on a very, very small, little itty bitty scale, but not really. And Red Panda's Meow Coin is at the top of the list for losing you the least amount of money. I never thought I'd ever report crypto like that. Oh yeah, your mining is so great. You see, this one's losing you the least amount of money. Sad day. Sad day. But to see a lot of the hash rates and the difficulties still dropping in a lot of coins gives me a little hope. Ethereum is still up on the hash rate, on the difficulty. Bitcoin's been kind of flatlining for the last 7 days, which I'm fine with that. That just means they haven't come up to their next epoch for a difficulty change. Doge has gone up because, well, Litecoin mining is somewhat profitable. Bitcoin mining is profitable. Kadena mining is profitable. There are Kadena miners that are making $66 a day for 3,000 watts. That's actually not bad as long as you can get your hands on one of these bad boys. For $6,295, you too can buy one of these, and it has like a 5-month return on ROI. So I mean, not bad if you want to support into the Kadena miner area, and you have the provision to support 3,000 watts. So in other words, you're going to be mining on 240 volt power. You cannot put 3,000 watts onto a 20 amp 110 North American plug outlet. You will be 3 times maxing it out. You will be melting wires somewhere. So I don't recommend doing it that way. So yeah, we'll just kind of leave it like that. So most people, they don't have, unless you're in a European country where 240 volt is naturally found in your walls, and then you can sit there and play around with this. But except for people in the UK, apparently the people in the UK, they got cheap wiring in their walls. So you got to be careful with that. If you're in the UK, be careful about ASIC mining on existing, because of the way that they wire it up. They wired their 240 volt just like North Americans wired 110. So yeah, be careful with that. But I mean, if you are wanting to do ASIC mining, this could be one of a good route to go if you can get your hands on them. It's like some of these I've heard of, like Miner Bros. I know of them. Bitcoin Merch, I'm not sure of them too much. I've never used them. BT Miners, I've know of them, but never have ordered through them. And then everything else is pretty much for me out of the country. Like Vipera, I've never heard of them. These are all trusted vendors through ASIC Miner Value. So I don't know how they vet good trusted vendors and not trusted vendors. So yeah, you can kind of take it for what that is. I mean, kind of be careful with that. That's what I always say. And this is all being calculated with. We were already under 60. It was $66 just a couple of minutes ago. But we're doing this off of a. Wow, this is a long list. 12 cents a kilowatt hour, all in, right? Anything in red is you're losing money really quick. Where do you start losing money? Where did this go? Up. Here we go. So the Ipolo G1 Mini is where you start losing money. The A9++ Z Master, you're losing money. Handshake Box, done. CK Lite, losing money. The WhatsMiner M30++s are losing money at 12 cents a kilowatt hour, right? And these are the ones that I have. But yeah, I'm not worried about that, cause yeah. Markets will come back. The E3 Antminers, if I turn those back on, I'd be losing 4 cents a day. I might turn these mine back on just because it's like right there at the cusp of being profitable. Maybe. The mini Doge. You're losing money. So those mini Doges from Gold Shell are at 12 cents a kilowatt hour. You're losing 13 cents a day. But you're making Litecoin and Dogecoin, but you're still losing money. Let's see here. Gold Shell X5 losing almost 50 cents a day. Let's see here. M30S Plus, you're losing almost 90 cents a day. S19s, you're losing almost $1 a day. S15, you're losing almost $1 a day. So yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot that you're going to see a lot of profitability in. So the KDs are doing good. The Ipolo V1 Minis are doing pretty good. The Jasminer's doing all right. The InnoSilicon A10 Pro Plus, not doing bad. But again, it's like, that's just for now. There's a bunch of ASICs that have not turned on since the merge. So once it starts hitting certain profitability levels, you're going to start seeing hardware come back online as it becomes profitable for them to run. So if the difficulty is low enough and you can yield enough coin fast enough, then you're just waiting for price action to match the work you're putting in. Now, if you're sitting here looking at just, GPU versus ASIC mining, you can be doing Bitcoin mining. If you're at home, you're probably, you're not profitable. If you're doing shitcoin mining like Kadena, doing Ethereum Classic, doing Doge, Litecoin and Dogecoin, doing the Z15 for Equihash, those are going to be your more profitable ones for right now. But again, that is just for right now. Once price action comes back to Bitcoin, you'll see a lot of different GPU coins start becoming very profitable also, because of the fact that the merge realistically affected only things that touched Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, you didn't see this big ripple out effect to everything else that was ASIC dominated. So a lot of the ASICs dominated algorithms were like, meh, whatever. It's not like you GPUs can come over here anyway. Mess around and find out, right? So keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your mining goals. Are you going to be trading out your hardware, and if so, are you going to be trading it out for more efficient GPUs, or are you going to go into the ASIC side? During bear markets, I tend to go into the ASICs, just because for me, it's the hardware becomes more obtainable. It's cheaper. I don't mind getting secondhand equipment, and usually I start focusing in on just Bitcoin at that point. So that's what I'm going to be doing again moving forward, grabbing Bitcoin equipment, getting the facility up and rolling, getting all you awesome hashers into the facility, guys. Definitely smash that Lizzie like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. Share this out with your favorite social media. Help me get the word out to more of you awesome hashers out there. All this stuff helps me out. Yo, Gallo, yo, with the F. Yeah, I mean, like we're all in the same boat, looking at the same information, and nobody's really profitable. All we can do right now is, can you weather the storm, you personally? And if so, how are you going to weather the storm? Is this your building series? Because bear markets are building time. This is where you get quiet and you just build. And that's basically the only thing that I can sit there and say that I'm going to do, is I'm just going to keep building. I don't care about anything else. Let's just build. And then with that, why don't you build with me? Come over to the Family Mine. Bring your equipment over to us. Let us host your stuff. We'll try to keep you into the lowest price ranges to keep you as profitable as you possibly can be. We'll be able to offer hosting services to you guys, even locating miners for you guys. And with that hosting, you'd be looking at between 8 and 9 cents per kilowatt hour, guys. Yo, that's what I'm talking about. Effective power rate between 8 to 9 cents a kilowatt hour. So if that interests you and you want early VIP access, guys, check out the Patreon link down below. Join the Pseudo Hashers tier, and that will get you exclusive VIP access to the Family Mine LLC. If not, you'll have to wait until our doors officially open up, and hope that there's enough room for you to get your equipment in there before everybody else does. Yo! Room will fill up quick. I'm going to tell you that right now. Room will disappear. My next thing is I just paid for insurance, so I'm gonna have a few $1 million worth of insurance. So, but I still always suggest, doesn't matter where you're at. Even if you're a renter, right? You're renting an apartment, you get rental insurance, right? To make sure that your equipment, your stuff is always covered. I always recommend you guys hold your own insurance on your own equipment. It is a smart thing from a business standpoint to have your equipment insured. This way, if for the love of God something were to fucking happen, you're not at the mercy of the insurance company paying out from just one policy. You would have my policy plus your policy. Your equipment would be better covered that way. If not, we're gonna have millions of dollars worth of insurance to cover as much as we possibly can. So with that being said, that's at your own discretion. It's like getting rental insurance for a rental car, right? You don't have to. Just saying, but it's always recommended. Take that information for what you will. But definitely, guys, even if you don't want to host with us, that's fine, and you just want to be part of the community, love to have you part of the community too. Links are all down below for all the stuff. Join the Discord, guys. It is free. you guys to join that Discord, and you can be part of the community, help out. If you got questions, there are a bunch of highly knowledgeable people that'll all be, and like myself, all willing to help out. So definitely come take a spin over in our Discord. It'll be fun, a lot of shenanigans. It's been quiet a little bit lately just because it's a bear market. Bear market makes my Discord quiet every single time. It's amazing. So get all you happy hashers into there. Get you all talking, chatting up a storm. And with that being said, guys, stay FA because you guys are rated F for fucking awesome. Yo! And with that, peace out, and of course, stay savage. Yeah.